Okay, Kremlin. It's an old Avalon Hill version. I know the original Swiss version existed, but I know nothing about it except what's indicated in here. I've read through the rules. I used to play this solitaire every now and then. It's not a perfect game solitaire because it's almost all about hidden information and a bidding process. However, like I said, I played it solitaire several times, and it can be kind of enjoyable. So we're going to go ahead with this. It's got a high number of votes over in my thumbs request. Unfortunately, it's been a long time since I played it, and these rules are Don Greenwood tampered with, converted, whatever. They're really terrible. Just about everything he touched seems to have gotten damaged. I don't know how the original ones were. I imagine they weren't in English, but these just are not written for the easiest consumption. Among other things, it's divided into a basic and advanced game, actually in separate little booklets, which just makes things troublesome. But let me explain the basic idea of the game. The idea of the game is you want to get a party chief whom you're going to have bid points on, revealed points that indicate you control that party chief. You want to have him in power and healthy enough to wave to the parade, the May Day parade. If he's not healthy, he might not be able to wave. If he's off in the sanatorium, he won't be at the parade. You probably don't do that. He doesn't. That's not a good thing for him. Each of these character cards has a list of, their hobbies. For example, Nestor here likes to wave. Ambition to sing Red Sails in the Sunset at the October Parade. I'm sorry, it's the October Parade, not the May Day Parade. And then some information about them. And in some ways, they kind of might fit. So you might be able to attribute many of these to actual characters from that period, and that we're talking about the early 80s here as to when these were pulled from. All right. What's going to happen is there's going to be people in these different positions: party chief, then first level Politburo, KGB, foreign minister, defense minister, some lower leveled ministers. All of these have some abilities, at least. Then below that, you have a set of candidates, 5 candidates, and then the rest of the characters will be here in the people box, unless they die or they're sent to Siberia. Now, obviously, there's no returning from the dead, but it is possible to return from Siberia. You have the sequence of play listed out here. I think this is sufficient for the advanced game. Unfortunately, it's difficult for me to like I said, I couldn't really consume the rules efficiently. So I almost feel like I have to push my way through them again, just like I did the first time. The other thing you have is these influence sheets, and you're going to be doing these to secretly record how much influence you have on each character in the game. The base game says what you do is you allocate 10 points to one character, 9 to another, 8 to another, all the way down to 1 to someone. Now there are 26 different characters, A through Z, and you'll have bids on 10 of them. And then in the advanced game, you're going to be allowed to add some points to them. And of course, I'll be playing the advanced game. If you watch Republic of Rome, the kind of age numbers that I put on the characters for Republic of Rome, well, that works with this too. That was taken. My concept for that was taken from Kremlin. In Kremlin, each character's one of their major attributes is their age. Now, age starts out at a certain number, but it's going to be incremented by putting little chits on them to indicate as they get older. It's not necessarily chronological age, it's more a physical age. You don't age in general unless there's something wrong happening in your life, like you're the party chief. All right. let's take a look at anything else we have here. These things, these things are for suspicion, and I don't have the Revolution variant, which uses the actual Lenin, Trotsky, Stalin characters in the game. A somewhat different variant of it. So these are just going to be suspicion markers, which I have lower 1 question mark suspicions as well. Curas indicate you're in a sanatorium. These are to indicate you're sick or doubly sick. That indicates the sequence of play. There are 6 different factions, and I think I'll be playing with all 6, just to make life more difficult. All right. Now, of course, some of the rules may change between the 2 sets, and that's always a pain in the ass. But it looks like the setup will not much. There's going to be this deck of intrigue cards, and everybody's going to start with 3 of these, I think, at the beginning of the game. And there might be there is an opportunity to get more. And these, well, they're sort of event cards, but they have some additional options to them. All right. Other than the number on a character, you have a letter which identifies them on here, but it also gives you a strict ordering of their ages. So the oldest character at 80 is going to have the A letter, and the next character down will be B. He's probably like 79 or 76 or something like that. I don't know where he is. And one option for the game, oh, there he is, 75 for Lech. One option for the game is to order all the initial positions by age. We're not going to do that. That actually takes some of the randomness out of the starting position. Okay. So the other thing you do after you pass out 3 cards is Nestor is going to get a single cross. He starts the game ill. The other 25 characters will be shuffled and dealt face up into the Politburo and candidate slots. And that's what randomizes the start. You might have some very young people in high-ranking positions, which can really kind of make the game kind of weird. Kind of. Then each player is allowed to allocate their IPs, their influence points. Remember, those are the 10, 9, 8, all the way down to 1, using these charts. And I'll probably put it all on one sheet of paper. So I've used up almost all of these, maybe all of them. Do I have any blanks left? I'm not going to use blanks in a solo game. Yeah, it looks like I'm... Ooh, I can reorder. I'm sure Avalon Hill will be able to handle that. Yeah, I still got a decent amount. They came with a significant number. At the beginning of the game, in the basic game, you can't allocate any points to Nestor, but if there's more than 3 players in the advanced game, you're allowed to. Also, in the advanced game, if there's only 3 players, you're allowed to put a single bid down above 10. So you'll actually have the normal 10, 9, 8 all the way down, but you'll also have a 10 plus bid. And there's going to be counters in here somewhere. Here's one. This looks like an AWE tray, which say 10 plus, if there's such a thing. And that's basically 11 points. What that says is nobody can beat me. If I have this bid showing, nobody can top it. All right. Whenever you like during the game, you can up your influence. Okay, you have your influence written down here, but none of it actually has to appear on the board. But if you've got somebody in a position that you want to use, you can say, all right, I declare 1 influence on Nestor. I want to do something with him. And then somebody else can immediately say, you know, I got 1 on him too. And now you're tied. The tie breaking in the advanced game, I don't think it's allowed in the basic game. essentially. The tie breaking in the advanced game is, in general, whoever placed first gets to win the ties. But if there are other people who have influence on there who aren't involved in the tie, they have additional votes equal to 1/10 of the amount of influence they have on there. So they can kind of help push between equally tied values. What's interesting, though, is let's say 3 people have a single point on Nestor. All of these are tied, so none of them gets that 1/10 of a point, right? So only the first guy in there automatically gets Nestor at that point. But if someone else had a lower total than that, he would be able to influence which one of the different players gets there. He can't change his mind, though. Once Nestor is assigned to someone, basically, once the current influence situation is resolved, it will not get re-resolved until somebody adds influence and either takes the lead again or creates a new tie. If someone else comes into the tying, that could cause the influence to change. Obviously, you can see this is going to be a pain in the ass to do solitaire. Basically, I do a lot of random crap to kind of allocate and just sit around and watch the story evolve more than anything else, because that's kind of funny. Okay. There's a definition of inactive politicians. They're politicians in the sanatorium. They cannot vote nor take any actions, and they'll also have some penalties on themselves in some of the phases in the game. Okay, let's go through the sequence of play. The first thing we have is the cure phase. Each sick Politburo member has to either take the cure or they'll age 1 SP per plus marker they have on them. And the party chief and anyone with a question mark on them is also going to age a year. So normal people do not age every year. The advanced game adds some changes to that. If you're in a weak position, so that's these markers here. So he's bad at sports but good at the KGB. So if he was in the sports ministry, he'd be in a weak position. He'd get an extra SP for that. If he's in a strong position, he takes 1 less SP. So if he was in the KGB somehow and had been removed from the party chief, he would then take less aging points than he would normally, but you can't take negative from that. So you'll end up at worst, at best, coming away with 0. Okay. Our next step is the purge step. At this point, the KGB player, the KGB head, has the option to purge people. He may pick, I think, 1 person. Yeah. And he rolls a die. Huh. I wonder what kind of die that is. It's a 20-sided die, but I think it's marked 0 through 10, or 0 through 9. Maybe I'm wrong, because these go up to 14 and 18. Maybe it's really a 20-sided die. Damned if I remember. I don't have it in the box, obviously. Okay. So let's look at purge here if I can find it. The head of the KGB can attempt to purge. He has to roll less than or equal to the purge number for that level. If the purge is successful, the victim is sent to Siberia. And the KGB head ages 1 SP. Okay, so it costs you 1 age to do a purge. And then he can keep going. But if he rolls less than the required number, the victim's unaffected, the KGB head ages 3 years, and the purge phase ends. The purging player may add 3 to the die roll if the victim's in a sanitarium. Well, assuming it's actually a 20-sided die, you have a chance of purging the party chief. Which I assume is what they mean. Because they do say 20-sided die. They don't say 20-sided die marked 0 to 9. However, or 1 to 10. Those were pretty common in this era. So I don't know. Let's see. So I forgot to talk about the sanitarium effect on the cure, and I'm trying to follow the rules and the sequence of play at the same time. Okay, there's nothing important there. All right. So, if the KGB head doesn't want to purge anyone, that's all fine and good. Or if he wants to stop after a successful roll, that's fine too. However, if he either doesn't exist or he's in the sanatorium, character 3B no, I'm sorry. I'm looking for the purge. 2A, the ideology chief, gets second choice at this. And then the party chief, 2B, gets the third chance at doing it. So basically, if there is no KGB head who's active, the ideology chief gets the same opportunities. If he's also not active, then the party chief gets those opportunities. It can be an expensive thing to do. With the party chief, the ideology chief, kind of a nice place to have it because he's a lower ranked guy. Using your important people to spend age points on is kind of painful, but this first level Politburo members, they tend to have lots of things they want to do. All right. If you are successfully purged, you go to Siberia, and you get to keep your age and any health problems. You don't take any cures there, but any question marks or something else, and IP markers. I don't know what IP are. Oh, influence points are removed. Now, this is important. Any influence that's declared on you when you go to Siberia, that is actually eliminated from play. You lose any declared influence points you have on that character. He comes back, and secret influence points will remain on him. You probably don't want to purge someone that you have a lot of secret influence on, but it may be that you purge someone that you have too little to gain control of the character, and therefore you end up wiping out the declared larger amount of points on there, and you have an advantage on that character if he comes back. However, going to Siberia is not pleasant for the character. He might not come back. Okay, the next thing is the spy investigation phase. Now, this is going to be trials and condemnation. The foreign minister is able to do... No, the defense minister is able to do this. And his rules are, he can initiate an investigation for one age. And that's just putting a question mark, if I can find single question marks anywhere, on a character. He can condemn somebody to Siberia for 2 age points without an investigation. But that is only a candidate that he can do that to. He can't do it to Politburo members. He may also resolve a spy investigation with a trial. He's allowed to do one of these per year. This is going to be a vote of all the active Politburo members. The votes are individual in voting order. What's voting order? I don't remember. Wonder if they define that shit somewhere. Yeah? I'm sure they do somewhere. But this is the lovely situation of... I seem to remember something about this. Where it's... got any glossary or anything? No, of course not. Not in a Don Greenwood game. He didn't believe in making things readable. or usable as a reference material. All right, I got no idea what voting order is. I seem to remember somebody had control over declaring who gets to vote, like the person whose action it was. But I got no idea. I'd basically have to read the entire rules over again looking for this. And I've done that. I've skimmed them. They're not that long. I've skimmed them a couple of times in this time. And I have not found it. Maybe it's hidden somewhere in here. But who the hell knows? Because we love Don Greenwood games, right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember what the hell it is. And you know, I don't give a shit, actually. It may be rank. Who cares? Anyway, in voting order, each player has to declare guilty or not guilty. If there's 2 not guilty votes, I think it is. His shit is useless. If there's 2 innocent votes, the character will be acquitted. And then the cost for that is the defense minister ages 3 SP and the question marks removed. You can only do this to somebody who's already under an investigation. If the 2 not guilty votes can't be gotten, the character goes off to Siberia just as if he had been purged. And the same effects there. The defense minister can also remove question marks at a cost of 1 SP each. And again, if the defense minister doesn't want to take this action, well, it doesn't happen. However, if he doesn't exist, other people replace him. And this is a 3. So first foreign minister, then KGB head, then the party chief, and then the industry minister. In that order. Alright, next we hit the health phase, and everybody's going to be making a roll somewhere. And who the hell knows where that is? You roll on the health table. Well, where's that? Yeah, there we go. This doesn't look like a table, but okay. So, depending on where you are, what your age is, you roll a 20-sider, and clearly it is actually a 20-sided die, and you'll get a result. You might recover. You can see healthy people actually get a recovery on a lot of dice. They don't have to go to the sanitarium. No change, or you add 1 or 2, or maybe even you just die. If you go above 2 crosses, you're dead. Oh no, this is at the sanitarium. This is healthy people outside the sanitarium. A little bit risky. But once you get old, the sanitarium becomes not even terribly safe for you. I mean, you're old and all. Well, we're talking about 95 here. If you go above 95, you've retired. You are no longer able to be anyone. Funeral commission. This happens if the party chief position gets vacant. Now, that may not be him dying. He gets to stay there if he's in the sanitarium, but you could send him to Siberia. Khrushchev, anyone? Okay. Now, if you send him to Siberia, or if he doesn't exist during the funeral commission phase, which is down here after the health, then the foreign minister is going to get to nominate someone. He must nominate someone other than himself from the first level. If there isn't anyone there available, he may nominate anyone he may nominate someone from the second level in the Politburo. He may not nominate himself still. If no one's available but himself, he nominates himself. Actually, he automatically becomes party chief. The Politburo then gets to vote. The foreign minister cannot vote against his own nominee, nor can the nominee vote against himself. It takes 3 negative votes, regardless of how many people there are, to defeat the nomination, and then the foreign minister ages 1 year. If his first nominee fails, the foreign minister then must nominate another member from among those who voted no for the first nominee. There will be some. Remember that at least 3 no votes have to exist. But no restriction there. If this nominee fails, the foreign minister ages another year and becomes the party chief himself. If he has no declared IPs, influence points, he's going to nominate the eldest eligible politician from whatever level there is, just in case no players control it. Now, a player can throw IPs down to take the action. That's often one of the cases. Then the party chief is allowed to shift people to different positions within their current level. So he can shift around the first level and the second level, and this doesn't cost him anything. Then he's allowed to promote and demote as many people, but only 1 level each, and it costs 1 SP, and there has to be a space for them. So for example, you could drop somebody from a first level space to an empty second level space for 1, and then move somebody up from the second level for 1, etc. And you can demote people from candidate as well, if there's any reason for that. There's not much. After having promoted and demoted all the politicians he cares to, the party chief then declares he's finished, and all first level posts will be filled in order of succession from the second level's oldest members. They'll move up and fill the different first level positions. If there are no second level positions, you go to the candidacy. If there are no candidacies, you go to the people, and always going with the oldest people first, making their way up to the first position. After that, starting with the KGB head, each of the first level positions gets to promote people 1 level up to second level from candidate or from people to candidate. These are just promotions. If those do not fill all the second level positions, the candidates and then the people in age order fill those positions. Then the second level people can promote people up to candidates. If those aren't filled, they automatically go to the older people. Each of these promotions will cost 1 age to the person choosing to make the promotion. But if they're automatic age-related ones, they don't age anyone for that. All right. If there aren't enough politicians left alive outside Siberia, you can't fill all the positions. The game immediately ends, and this is a special winning situation. The person with the highest ranking active Politburo member, i.e., you cannot be in the sanitarium to win, ends up just winning the game automatically. Then we have this rehabilitation phase here, in which each Politburo member in order can spend 5 age points to pull somebody out of Siberia and add them to the people. And they come out with any aging or health issues that they took with them. Then we hit the parade phase. The party chief will waive, but it's not guaranteed if he's sick. If he's sick, he gets a year of additional age. Remember, he took one for being the party chief, and he might have taken some from being sick. Well, he gets another one here, and he has to roll a 7 or higher. If he's double sick, he gets 2 additional, and he has to roll a 14 or higher. If you successfully waive, you can put a marker down indicating that you waived that turn, that one of your leaders waived that turn. Once you've waived 3 times successfully, you win the game. Right then, That's the basic game. Now, the Swiss rules had slightly different rules they go into here. One of the most major factors there is that waving was by character. So if Nestor waved, or someone waved 3 times, that would trigger the victory. And it's whoever controls the party chief at that moment who wins the game. Just a very different thing. This actually works, the components work well with this version, with the base rules, rather than with the Swiss original rules. All right. What's changed in the advanced rules? I've actually scratched on some of them, like the influence point ties. Normally that's just a non-situation. It's just straight bidding. Whoever gets there first has the votes. I've also touched there with the strengths and weaknesses in the different positions. For example, every character has a pair, one positive, one negative, and that affects their aging. Intrigue cards, again, I touched on these in terms of them existing. Basically, you play these and follow the rules on them. Bribes and deals, I haven't explained this. At any point in the game, you can show someone intrigue cards in order to try to bribe them. Usually to convince them to take some specific action, like, hey, don't purge me. These are binding deals in the phase that they're handled. So if I tell you, hey, here's a card, don't purge me and I'll give you this card. If you keep the card, you cannot purge me during this round. I could make all kinds of additional stipulations that go outside this round, like, I'll vote for you on all ties for the rest of the game, or this, that, the. None of that's binding, but it is absolutely binding if I make any promises pertaining to the current phase of the game, at the current moment, on the current turn, and la la la. If I have more than 3 cards after accepting a bribe, I have to give you cards back as change if I accept the bribe. Okay. Another thing that happens here is increasing influence. If you notice on these sheets, here's 3, 6, and 9, there's this additional space for influence. Well, that's additional points that you can add to the influence you have on a character. But that has to be done openly. On each of those years, each player gets 2 influence points, which they can put down. And that is done starting with the player to the left of the player currently controlling the highest ranking active Politburo member. So what's going to happen there is, starting with that first player, he has to actually add declared influence, and he also marks down where he declared it on here to keep track of his running total. That can allow you to go up to the higher than 10 value. And the first person who gets there has permanent control of that character as long as the character doesn't go to Siberia. If the character goes to Siberia, well, remember, all declared influence goes away. But there's something special when you put a 10 plus on. All declared influence is withdrawn from the character when the 10 plus is up there. It's now in reserve. So if that character goes to Siberia, everyone else's influence stays. The guy who put 11 points on there and declared it, his influence is going to disappear and be erased from the game. That's about it. Before I actually start playing, I'll try to find the voting order rules. I seem to remember that the person whose action it was, so for example, if the defense minister is calling a vote, he gets to control that order, but I couldn't find any indication of it. It may be the party chief gets to control it, but I don't think so. As to how I'm going to handle this solitaire, I've already kind of discussed that. I'm going to be doing a lot of it very randomly. There's going to be obvious good positions in here. It's going to be almost like an initial auction, the same way I handle auctions in other games. I'm going to roll dice, odd or even, hey, did you want to go with your high vote here, or whatever, yes, no. Just making what I think are good choices, trying not to pay attention to what other people have already chosen or rolled for. But of course, my thinking is driving all of the probabilities on these checks. All right, let us hope that this only takes one video. I got screwed a little earlier.